What's up, guys? I'm Brandon Battick, and welcome back to the heavy metal podcast, Disturbing the Priest. I am joined today by Brandon Pires and Julian Rose. How is it going?
Good.
Going good,
Chilling,
man.
chilling. Julian has probably the coolest background here. I'm pretty jealous of it. Very cool art, but we are here to talk about the band Animals as Leaders. This band is very interesting to me. They started in like 2007, I believe.
2009.
No, yeah, this started 2007, first album, 2009.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, they started in 07. And this was supposed to be like a solo project, not a band, I believe. But became like this whole thing. And what do they have? 6 albums now, 6 records later.
They have 5. Well,
5.
They have a live album, but yeah, 5 studio.
Right. And honestly, I was like never a huge fan of these guys. Like, I'm not like just like Gent in general. I'm not really crazy about, but like very recently, I have like gotten into some of their stuff, and I actually think they're pretty cool. And Pyres, apparently, you're a big fan of this band.
Man. Yeah. So like the first time I saw him, and I love whenever this happens, was when like your friend just like cold invites you to go see a band that you've never heard of. So I went and they blew me away, man. They got their 2 guitarists, Tosin and Javier, up front playing 8-string guitars. And they're like, I feel like the extra 2 strings are like lower, so they're like they don't have a bassist, so they just go back and forth with like the bass line. It's really cool to see.
Which is really sick.
So they don't have a bassist, but there is like bass on the recordings. I think originally Tosin like recorded bass, and I think Javier took over on that in the past couple albums. But like live, they're just like the trio, 2 guitars and drums.
But
which is definitely cool. It's like a very different experience live from like a lot of other bands because of that.
Are they still touring? Are they?
Yeah,
what's the current status?
I think they just finished a tour because they released an album recently.
Oh yeah. Which I actually listened to pretty recently, and I'd love to get into like I'd love to get into their discography. Yeah, I can't even. I saw the name of that. I'm like, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. But like, I don't mind their new record. A lot of cool synthy stuff on it. Like, here's my whole thing. Like with this band. All right. The first 2 albums didn't really grab me at all. It was a lot of like, just like it felt like it was just like, all right, let's just be as technically impressive as possible in 3, 2, 1. And that really, like, that's all I really got out of the first couple records. And like, granted, like, I don't really have like a really good ear for this stuff. Like, it's not really my favorite genre of all time. It's like with a lot of people where like, you listen to something and everything kind of just sounds the same. But it was definitely the Madness of Many, the 2016 release, that like I really like. That's probably my favorite record like they ever put out. Every song definitely like had its own personality and feel to it, and it just like was really awesome. I was like constantly entertained. It was just a really, really fun record. But yeah. And their new one is like cool, but Madness of Many is definitely my favorite.
I enjoy Madness of Many a lot. It's a great album. I do find that I like Joy of Motion a bit better. It just like Madness of Many, there's some really cool songs on there, but I just kind of, it like feels like a little more like disjointed in a way. I don't know how to describe, but
Hmm.
yeah, Joy of Motion's like a very nice cohesive album for me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
got Physical Education on it, right?
Yeah, Physical Education, Phenomenal, Cascade, The Woven Web, all
Hmm.
great stuff.
how do you feel about Another Year? I want to hear your opinion on that.
Um, Another Year.
That's the one that starts with the guitars like
Oh yeah,
with
it's like the
almost
happy
like
one, right?
yeah, it's got like
Yeah,
no distortion. It kind of
yeah.
fades in and out.
I love that song. It's
Yeah,
it's great. It's like a nice like different vibe from like what a lot of bands in like the genre put out.
definitely.
It's like
Yeah,
a
it's more prog, you know.
definitely.
It's right in the middle of the album too. So I mean, I really love Joy of Motion as well, and I agree with you too, Brandon, about the first two albums. Hadn't really dug into them too much. I noticed that, you know, the difference between the first album and the second album, you definitely feel like, you know, more depth, you know, like they're adding a little bit more. But I gotta say, the second album, I you know, it did kind of all sound the same, and it's I think my least favorite album of theirs. And I agree with you, Madness of Many, Joy of Motion. That's where it's at. I also like the
Hmm.
new one too.
Yeah, what's your favorite record of theirs?
Mine has to be Joy of Motion. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's hard when you fall in love with a band and you fall in love with an album specifically. You know, it's
Hmm.
like it's kind of hard for another album to like dethrone that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. For me, like I really like the Madness of Many. I think like also Julian, like didn't you have that on CD or
Yeah.
something? And I
Yeah,
swear like
I played that a lot in high school,
yeah,
I think,
so I think like
because it came out that
naturally
year.
naturally like that's part of the reason why that's probably my favorite, just because I was like around it so much.
Yeah.
Um but yeah,
I
like
think that
I'll say like I do like their later stuff.
mhm.
What were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, I think that that's part of the reason why it's not as high on like my favorites by them, just because I listened to it too much. Like
Yeah.
it got like kind of old for me. But it's a phenomenal album. I love like I think Brain Dance is uh
Yeah,
easily like one of their best songs just ever. Um I love the sitar and Arithmophobia too. That's awesome.
yeah. What was
Yeah.
really funny to see with their new record is that it's only like 37 minutes. Which, you know, a band like this, I'd expect like a triple LP kind of album where it's like, you know, some hour and 20-minute record. But it's cool how like this band is like putting out like 4-minute songs and like really just like not overstaying their welcome, which I feel like a lot of bands of this genre like are pretty guilty of
Yeah.
doing.
I do think that specifically with animals as leaders, their stuff is like so um technical to like the point where it like putting out like a longer album would kind of detract from the experience overall, because it's very like fatiguing to listen to after some
Yeah,
time. And I
yeah.
think that like um the shorter run times are good. Like I just looked at it, like Weightless is like 46 minutes, Joy of Motion's a bit longer, and I guess Madness of Many is a bit longer too, but
Mm,
um they're really like they don't have like the 10-minute 15-20 minute like prog like
yeah.
stuff, you know.
Which is like
All their
really
all yeah,
refreshing.
all their ideas are like really nicely like contained within like each song.
Yeah. Would you say like at times they're like too technical where it's just like way too like chaotic? Because like
uh
I feel like there's a few instances of that where it's like, what am I even listening to at this point? Like, because it's almost like button mashing, like
yeah,
musically.
This I definitely feel that way about the first album
Hmm.
at times. But for the rest of the stuff, I don't know. I feel like that's part of the charm and like part of their sound, you know? It's like
Yeah.
sometimes everything just being so chaotic is like contributes to the aesthetic that like they're going after.
Yeah, yeah. And like also like it's hard to like, even like say anything like negatively about this band because like a lot of people point the guitarist, the guy who like made this band, like as like
Tosin.
one of Tosin, one of like the greatest of all time. And like I've seen people like hold him up as like one of the best modern guitarists, which is like wild. And I can like kind of see that with like listening to a lot of these records, but like I think that's wild.
Yeah. Well, to elaborate on that point more specifically, like some of the stuff like I didn't even like I got into the band and then I like watched him on like Guitar World or whatever, like playing the songs, and I was like, wait, that's how he does it? Like what's
Yeah.
going on? Like he's like developing techniques to play the music
And
that
he's
like people,
self-taught.
yeah. No, he went to he has a jazz degree.
Oh, I think wasn't he self-taught before though? I believe he started
Maybe.
off self-taught and then of course like went to school. But what's
Yeah. But
really
like when he went to school, like that's obviously where a lot of the crazy
yeah,
stuff started
like
happening.
music theory and whatnot,
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
yeah, he's also does like this thing where he like taps the bass line and then or like he does like hammer-ons and stuff for the bass lines and then taps like melodies over it. So he's playing two parts at the exact same time.
that's insane.
And I think for that reason is like why people hold him so highly.
Yeah, which is like, that's really wild and that's very justified. It's also cool that like he has his own guitar company. Like he has his own
Yeah.
like guitars and they have like really sick bodies and everything. I don't know a ton about it, but like it's something that's like really, really cool, especially when a guitarist of that caliber has their own like, not just a signature, but like their own like company. Like I think that's really sick. Is
Yeah.
there anything
I
like
believe
special about those guitars that
well
because I'm not
they're designed like very ergonomically. So
uh-huh.
they're like super like comfortable to play. They look crazy, which is, part of the appeal. But you gotta like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
I believe that he was working with Ibanez to release a guitar that looked like that. And then he got like kind of frustrated because everything was taking so long with like all the bureaucracy and stuff at Ibanez. So he just went and started a company to do it. So
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wild. And like a lot of like my favorite guitarists and whatnot, like don't go that far in terms of like making a guitar. It's like, all right, I'm just having a company's reaching out to me. I'll just stamp my name on it and call it mine. But no, that's really sick. Um
Yeah.
and the
Well, I
fact that
mean,
like he actually plays them too, like which obviously makes sense, but like really makes them perfect enough for like it's his main guitar.
yeah. Well,
Um
I mean, like that's just kind of all signature guitars. Like the artists work very closely with the companies to make sure it's like exactly what they want. It's not just like oh here we'll put your name on this like pre-made thing.
Are you sure? Because a lot of people, a lot of guitarists, it's like kind of for the money in terms of like getting a signature. It's like, hey, I'll pay you this much if you play this guitar and we'll just like put your name on it. It's like, sure.
Sure
Like,
that
do you
does
think there
happen.
that
No, I
exists?
mean,
And
I maybe I don't know. I mean, I think most uh obviously like money is probably a consideration for some, like if like one company is offering you double what like another company is offering, you
yeah,
might go with that, right? But like all these signature guitars are like genuinely like designed in collaboration with the artists. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. How cool would it be for like on their next record if they had like a singer?
That'd be
Who
interesting.
would be your like dream singer
Um,
for the next Animals as Leaders record?
Yoko Ono. I feel like it would be weird enough and like oddly like work.
Yeah, how
I
could you
can
even
weirdly see
get
that.
any words? Like I don't even see like there's like no time to breathe, you know what I mean?
I feel like
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I don't think this type of music would work great with a singer. Like
yeah.
I
it'd
just
have to be like very artsy singer. Like
yeah.
Yoko Ono, funny enough. Like I know that was like a meme, but like
No, that's like that's like why I said it, because she just like yells.
maybe you can do something with like Metallica's Lulu, where it's someone just like doing poetry over
I
it.
gotta check that out, man. I've yet to listen to that. How do you feel about it?
I'll save you some time and just tell you like don't.
You don't
It's
I
not
don't even have
it's
to,
not
huh?
worth it. It's the album's an hour and a half long. It's just ridiculous. Honestly, I guess that's a fair like connection because like honestly, I wish Lulu was an instrumental record. Um so I don't know. I think that'd just be so funny to just like throw off your whole fan base
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
that's what it would do.
it'd be
You
like,
would
hey,
have to
we're
completely change it,
by the
you
way, we're
know,
having
to
King Diamond sing on our new record.
Yeah.
Or they can have like different singers on each song. Um,
Yeah.
that
Well,
would
like
divide
Polyphia
the.
who
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
should we flip a coin? All right,
Go.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Uh, I think it'd be cool if they had like a different singer on each song, like, and not in the sense that like it'd be better for the band, um, but I think like they should experiment like with vocals, and it doesn't have to be like written lyrics or whatever, but like almost like use the voice as an instrument, like Yoko Ono. Like, why not just like lean into like the craziness of just like crazy guitar playing, very technical playing, and just like really very weird music. I feel like, just evolve the band, just lean more into it, go crazy, add some more instruments. Go. All right, your turn.
Okay. I was saying like one of the things that like so one of the bands that recently toured supporting Animals as Leaders, Polyphia, their latest album, like they have very like technical music
Yeah.
as well. And their latest album involves like several uh vocal features on the album. And they work surprisingly well because the songs are all written with the vocals in mind, right? So they're not composed the same way. The like there's actually like room for the singer in the song. And that's kind of obviously the only way that I think Animals as Leaders with vocals could work. Like you can't just sing over um CAFO. Like
What it
that would be like insane.
are
And
the singers? Sorry to interrupt, but like, were the singers like rappers, or were they?
yeah, there are a couple rappers, couple singers.
Yeah, would you, if they wanted to put vocals on the next record, would you prefer? What would you prefer? Would you prefer normal vocals, rap, or like experimental artsy singing?
I got an
I think
idea.
like experimental, but go ahead.
How about fake bougie? Think you could do it.
Wow, that's a really clean sponsorship transition.
Yeah, my thank you, Fake Bougie, for paying the bills. And another Animals as Leaders fan. So there you go. He is a DJ. Hopefully he can play some Animals as Leaders. Wouldn't that be, imagine like being at like prom and like putting in one of their songs as like the request. And the
Yeah.
guy's just like, you know what? Sure, it's probably some like fun song, and it's just like some super crazy technical song. You probably can't
That'd
dance
be
to that
wonderful.
music, but yeah, have you both seen them live?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Twice, maybe 3 times.
Twice?
I think twice.
Maybe 3 times.
I'm sure I
You
don't
just
remember.
really stoned one of the times.
No, it's just been so long. It's like
Yeah.
all blends
I saw him
together.
in 2014, 2015, and it was kind of like a bunch of dudes moshing. I was moshing, and then
How
the
do you
rest of the crowd was just complaining that the people were moshing. That's how that worked, in my experience.
I feel like there's so many like prog nerd elitists who like are just like obsessed with this band. And I feel like
That's
there
what it
would be like
was.
such a clash of people like seeing them live. Cause like you'll have the people who like want to dance and mosh to the music, and then the people who are like, you know, toking on like a cigar or whatever. Like, this is true prog.
Yeah, definitely. There's this one guy like they can't even appreciate the music when they're just moshing. It's just like, dude, like just understand people are different, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild. I remember when I saw Metallica, there was like a family behind me, and like I was in like the pit, and before they went on, there was like a family, and they were like joking about like there being a mosh pit. Like, yeah, the pit's gonna open up right here, huh? Like not thinking it actually would. And like they had kids and stuff, and then like some like one of the like kids are like, wait, really? And the dad's like, no. He's like, it's not the 80s. And then like it literally formed around them. Like you literally,
How old are the kids?
I think like 7 and 8. I don't know.
Perfect
Old
time to
enough.
start. Get them young,
Yeah, but I really don't. I can't imagine moshing to this band. Like it's just
They
way too. I don't know. Maybe it's just the chaos makes you want to just like push people and stuff. But
their stuff is very like rhythmic and very like they have some very heavy stuff. It's like it's not all just like shredding, but there's like a lot of like especially like one of the big like mosh songs of theirs like the Woven Web, where like there's just this like riff that's just like super like heavy and kind of they do it like a lot like repetitive and yeah, so it's great.
damn, what what year did you see them? Like how early?
I just checked. This is 2016
Oh
and I
wow,
think 2018.
nice. Pyres. You see them? Oh yeah, you said you saw them recently, right?
No, I saw them. So Joy Emotion came out 2014. That was the most recent album. I mean, Madness of Many came out 2016. So it had to have been 14, 15 when I saw them.
Yeah, and there's just like people who just like watch it, and other people who mosh. Is it a
Yeah,
big pit at all, or is it like is the ratio like way too?
it
It's
was a
like only
Palladium
5
pit.
people moshing.
It was Worcester Palladium. So
Oh, really?
it's about half the floor. Half the
All
floor was
right.
probably the pit.
Well, I think
Yeah, in a tiny little pit.
Yeah.
yeah, I saw him at the Palladium too once. Um it's like there's definitely like a good amount of people moshing, but it's not like you're at like a thrash show or like death metal or something.
Mm.
It
Are
wasn't
they?
the most intense pit either, and it wasn't like constant,
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
in and
because
out.
like because yeah, because again they have like these parts that are very moshable and these parts that are really not at all like
Yeah. Like that are so far from mosh music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are they? So how are they like live in terms of like a performance and stage presence?
Phenomenal. They just stand there in like one spot the whole show. And they have
That's
like
what
these
I
like
assumed.
blinding lights behind them. So you like see the silhouette and it burns your retinas and then they end and they leave and you're like, "Whoa, that was amazing."
Yeah.
It's just like seeing
Right.
like the best like high school talent show band of all time just standing there, just
Yeah.
playing the most insane music.
Yeah.
Don't you have like a
They
problem with that at all? Like just like a band standing there and like, all right, we're doing it. Here we go. Does the
no.
music like overshine that?
Yeah, I think like when you're playing that kind of stuff, it's you need to like you can't like be like running around and like stage diving, Like it's cool like they're performing it live like this like music that is like pretty much impossible to play, and they can do it like every night, and you can see them do it. It's like a cool experience.
And that's like so impressive that like they can just play it note for note live. Because like you see bands like even like Dragon Force, um, I'm pretty sure Through the Fire and the Flames is like sped up.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even like them just like recording it straight. So like
Yeah.
it's
It's
really
funny.
crazy.
You can watch some like live videos, and I think, and you see the live video like sped up
Oh really?
to like match the
What?
recording. Yeah.
Oh my god. That's so ridiculous. That's so stupid.
That's the point.
Have have they ever played, and like I know you guys aren't experts on this band, but I'm just curious like if they've ever played a record in its entirety live. Cause like I feel like they're a band which like if I saw them live, like I would actually prefer if they just played a record front to back live. Cause I love that stuff live. Like especially with like a very proggy band, or like a way more technical band than most. Like I'd love to just see an album played front to back live. Have they done that at
Mm.
all? I don't think so. From what I've
Not that I
looked
know
into.
of. I don't think it's really like music that needs to have that. Like there's some like concept albums or whatever where that's really cool live, but like all the songs are kind of like their own thing. I recommend checking out their live album on Spotify because it's like it's before Parhisha came out, and
Mhm.
but it's just basically kind of like a greatest hits set, and it's just like a just a lot like of their best music played.
That's awesome. I'll that's one I haven't checked out yet. I don't mind with bands doing like greatest hits. I feel like with this band, like it's good to have a live album that's just greatest hits instead of like, hey, we're just doing whatever. Because it gives early
Yeah.
listeners like a good entryway into the band. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that? That like the live record would be like a good first album to listen to because it paints like the
Um
broad picture.
it's probably a good one. I'd honestly uh for someone trying to get into them, I would honestly just kind of like look at their greatest hits, because I love the live album, but like there's something about like the full production of the songs that is kind of like a makes it like a is a good like entryway, as opposed to
Yeah.
just like, because like with the live album they have like a bit of like a backing track for some of like the keys and like ambient stuff,
Mm.
but otherwise it's just like guitars and drums. You don't have like all like the cool like quadruple tracking and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next point where like how would like someone even start with this band? Like for me personally, like I listened to Madness of Many, obviously, and then just like very recently started with their first and just listened to the whole discography. And I kind of feel like that's the way to go because you can really see them evolve and like become like, you know, their peak. And I really
Hmm.
love to see how their sound changes and becomes just this, like mess of like all these notes and sounds to like really define songs and whatnot. Do you think like there's a order of this? Should you start with their latest and go down? Should you start from their first record? because like I'm honestly personally like not really sure how I would even like point someone into like getting into this band, like how I would have them do it.
I mean, I honestly I think Joy Motion's like a really cool like introductory thing. It's got like a lot of songs that are like you could play like physical education to like someone who's into like pop music and they'd like think it's a banger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it has like it definitely has like its own has songs that are more on like the technical side too. Um and I think it's overall just because it's my favorite album, I think it's like one of the most well-rounded that they have. And I think it's a good introduction. But there's also like I don't know. I think just skim everything and then see what you like, you know. See like
Yeah.
what sounds kind of speak to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Pyres, what was your whole like process within like getting into the band?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, how I'd recommend it is exactly how I got into it. Just go to a show blind. And, if you appreciate like music and, if you're a guitar player at any level, like you will appreciate the hell out of that, even if the music isn't for you.
Yeah. And that's a fair point because it's like another thing, just like hearing like all these notes and be like, oh my God, what's even happening in a song compared to like
Right.
seeing him play it and be like, oh my God, that is so
It's
impressive.
it's a
Yeah.
whole nother animal.
Yeah. And also like so what does this band name like even mean? Animals as leaders? Is it just like
Oh,
about
I
Planet of
read
the
about
Apes?
it. I think it's a reference to a book. I
Animal
totally forgot
Farm?
what book. It that's what you would think. I could just Google it real quick.
Yeah, it was inspired. The name Animals Leaders was inspired by Daniel Quinn's 1992 novel Ishmael, which addresses anthropocentrism.
Oh,
With
They should have just called it.
anthropocentrism is the belief that human beings are central or most important entity in the universe. All right.
very interesting. And I feel like are any of the songs like based on that theme, or I think it's just a name
I mean, it's
of the band?
instrumental music. Like,
Yeah, but there's still even
They have titles.
yeah, they still have
yeah,
titles. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there could be titles that like still it's like, hey, what do we name this thing? It's like, oh, just reference our band name or something. I feel like there's none of that in the music because I'll be honest. Also, like I really have no like besides what you told me, like I don't really have a grasp on what that book even is. But I haven't really like heard any like animal references in any of their like music names. Like there's no like King Animal or Follow the Animal Leader or something. I feel like
Yeah.
it's very but like besides that, I
Well,
feel like they do have really cool song names.
the so it says Abasi coined the name as a reminder that we're all essentially animals. It's not like he's not like talking about like dogs
Or like tadpoles.
with like the title. Yeah. He's saying like we're like humans and we're all
Yeah.
like just we're still like animals. We're just higher evolved, right?
Yeah. Like we're
But
all
I think it
just yeah, continue.
yeah. I think it was just like I think a lot of like what goes into like naming instrumental music is picking something that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like a cool band name, you know?
Yeah.
You guys ever listen to Devil Wears Prada? They're not instrumental.
Yes.
They pick out these random ass names like dogs can grow beards all over, HTML rules, dude. I get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's like actually like a really interesting topic with this band, or just like having an instrumental band in general, is like with the song names, like you can say whatever you want. Like
Yeah,
you
like
can
sad
that
cow disease.
yeah, like sad
And when the
cow
blind
disease.
frog cries.
Well, that has lyrics in it. But I feel
Yeah.
like with like instrumental songs, you can like literally just go on like an AI generator and look up something that has to do with animals as leaders.
Yeah, that's
It's
how
just like,
Childish Gambino got his name from a Wu-Tang name generator.
isn't that how Post Malone got his too?
I think his last name might be Post.
Yeah, his name's Austin Post.
Yeah, and he put his name in like a rap name generator.
Oh, maybe.
Just a Karl Malone fan, maybe, huh?
Yeah. So they put out so Animals as Leaders, they put out a record last year. Has everyone heard it here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think it it compares to the rest of their stuff? Think it's one of their better records? Did it drop the ball? Because I do have opinions, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I think it's awesome, honestly. Like there's some
It's
like some great,
sick.
yeah, some great songs on there, great like riffs and like melodies, and yeah, and I do like the shorter runtime too. I think it's kind of a nice little, it like doesn't feel like as big of a commitment as like other albums do.
Yeah,
So actually that might be like a good starting spot
true.
going
Because it
back
isn't
to
a
that.
lot to
But
ask for.
yeah.
Pyres, is this your favorite album of all time?
No, but it definitely rules. I mean, it's got more of the synth aspect to it, which I'm not normally a fan of, but I like the fact that it it just sounds a little bit different because you touched on the fatigue, and I totally feel that because I've over the last 2 or 3 days, that's all I've been listening to. And last night on the way to an open mic, I was like, all right, I gotta get into comedy mood. I put on Steely Dan, and it was just like it was like driving on a cloud, dude.
That's your pump up music, Steely Dan.
Sometimes
I
it's
feel
some sick,
what
sick
about
music.
it? What about Steely Dan pumps you up?
It's just so nice. Yeah, I'm not. You see me on stage. It's not like I'm high energy, dude. I'm like Steely Dan energy, man.
Dude, you're like Steely Dan, but like
Yeah,
comedy.
I'm Steely Brandon, dude.
Dude, I think you just found your new stage name.
I'm good.
Steely Brandon.
It's got to be Brandon Empires, if anything,
Yeah.
or that
Not
would be like my middle name.
yeah, which that's a cool name. Brandon Empires. That's
Yeah,
pretty sick. But the new record, I think it's solid. I do like I think the synth stuff's really cool. I do think it kind of does drop off a little bit on like the B side of it. Like I think the A side of that record is so much stronger than like maybe like the last couple songs. But honestly, like I think it's a great record. But their 2016 release, like I think also just because I've heard it so many times, like in
Dude,
Julian's car,
yeah.
so like I'm just so familiar with that one. And like I also just enjoy how individual each song is, and how each song, like I feel like, has more of a personality than any other record they've done. And I really like that when each song stands on its own. Because especially with a band like this, like when things are just like very identical, it starts to sound like just one, you know, hour and 12-minute song, which
yeah.
I will say, and like I'm guilty of, I don't have, a super evolved ear for like, gent, which you would call this gent, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like gent, a little bit like of like jazz fusion, um, some prog metal.
Yeah.
Some would those be like the three defining genres of this band?
I mean, yeah, well, so prog metal, like gent is like a subgenre from prog metal, but like
Yeah,
yeah,
fair enough.
I'd say so.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
But I don't know, man. Like I actually do dig this band. Pires, I do appreciate this suggestion because like I wasn't super into this band. Like I did know the 2016 record, but like I haven't really like sat down and like listened to it all that much. And after talking about it with you, like I just went and listened to all of them, and like they're pretty sick band. I'm definitely gonna listen to a new release when it comes out in 5 years or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
because how recent is their new record? Like it's
March 2022.
yeah,
So it's
so
been almost a year.
okay, so that's not bad. But I
They
feel
don't
like this
have
band
huge
is like really
gaps.
kicking stuff off. Huh?
They don't really have huge gaps between their releases. I mean, I guess 2020 2016
yeah,
20
2016 to 2022. That's a gap.
6
2022,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a 6 year gap right there. So
But
Yeah.
also, like, to be fair, there was also something that happened in the world that kind of stopped the production of albums and, you know, just things in general with the pandemic. So
oh
it's
not
like
yeah.
they could have very well like been working on it and intended to release it in like 2020 or something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's like, yeah.
And that like pretty much plagued like most uh musicians and people like just putting out records. Um
Yeah.
and with how and that's true because like with how recently this album did come out, like it's like this album must have been on the shelf for like a good amount of time. Or it could
Yeah.
have been like just those COVID sessions where like a lot of bands during COVID were like, you know what, let's just put something out. Or we might as well make an album. We're not doing anything. Um, but I don't really
Yeah,
know a
that could
ton
be.
about the like the making of that record, but regardless, it's a great album. I don't think like they have any like bad albums, but I think the first two are a little forgettable in my opinion.
Honestly, the first two are like two of my favorites, but
Really? Why?
we can
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, like so the production on the first one's like garbage, but there's some really cool songs on there. Like obviously like KFO is on there. Tempting Time is like also just amazing. It's definitely a lot more like shreddy than like their later stuff. And then uh, Weightless was like their first album as like a band, like not a solo project. So it feels like a lot like more kind of like there's a lot more varied because there are like different people involved,
mm,
and they had some like great like riffs like with um an infinite regression, like that's awesome. Like Earth Departure was really cool too. It's like all the like crazy like thumping technique that they're doing in there.
yeah. No, I'll probably revisit it. Just because like after like really getting into this band, like I don't know, I'll try to listen to it with another ear, but
Yeah.
I don't know, just for me, it was just very uh everything was just it was just like 1 hour long solo, which
Yeah.
maybe I just have to listen to it more and
It's like the
so I can really
riffiest.
appreciate it.
It's like their riffiest album. Like it's it's not like as shreddy as, I mean obviously it's shreddy, but it's not like as shreddy as the other ones.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of like memorable riffs from it in that sense.
All right. Well, I'll definitely revisit it. This has been a lot of fun. We're gonna wrap up right here. Julian, do you have anything you want to plug?
Um Damn, the Nuclear Funeral album dropped a little while ago.
Dude, if you like
Um,
animals as leaders, you're gonna like this band. Nuclear
Yeah.
Funeral.
It's like there's like we actually we kind of got animals as leaders started back in the day. We brought them on tour with us because like I heard them and I was like, yo, that sounds just like us. We need them. You know, it's like our fans are gonna love these guys, and they did, and you know,
Yeah, what people don't
taking
realize is like,
single-handed credit.
yeah, what people don't realize is like for years, Nuclear Funeral were like ghostwriters for Animals as Leaders. So it's cool that they're
Yeah,
like actually doing their own project.
yeah.
But all right, cool. Pyres, do you have any comedy dates you want to plug or just anything in general that's legal?
Well, unless this comes out right now, the only things I have on the book are like 2 gigs tomorrow. So
2 shows tomorrow in one night.
2 shows tomorrow. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
shows?
Other than that, so I'm doing Redemption Rock. The Touch Grass is what the show is
Oh
called.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then I get the feature set over at the Vernon tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
You
Nice.
gonna be there?
Pretty cool. Yes, I'll see you there. I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to your 10-minute set. But yeah,
Oh, baby.
what's your comedy at? B Pyres
Oh,
Comedy?
yeah, at B Pires Comedy. You got
Oh, I
it.
got it right. Hey,
Yeah.
lucky guess.
Well,
All right.
it's the perfect name.
Perfect name. Well, actually, Brandon Empires is pretty, or what was the Steely Dan one?
Oh, yeah, Steely Brandon.
Yeah, yeah, Steely Brandon Comedy. You should change the handle.
I
Um,
actually that might stand out a little more. I'll take that suggestion.
well, hey, thanks for coming on the show, guys. This is a lot of fun.
Been a
I've
blast.
never heard so many notes in my life. Because I listened to a lot of this band today. But
Yeah.
all right. I'm Brandon Battick, and this has been Disturbing the Priest.